Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum viewers. Welcome to this video in which we are discussing the SAP production report, that is COOISPI. And like, so in the previous video, part 3, something very strange happened. So I want to share it with you. Out of 996 rows of the report data, 471 were flagged as high severity exceptions. That was huge. At first, I thought the tolerance logic was wrong. So I increased it right from 1% to 75%. And the result barely changed. So that's when I realized the problem was not tolerance. The problem was logic. In this video, part 4, I will show you how a single change in the SAP COOISPI report logic reduced those exceptions from 471 right to just 33 real business relevant issues. Logic optimization, as we say. 996 were the total records, the rows of the report, of which 471 high severity exception. And how we reduce it to just 33 business issues. This is where the key message here is that automation without correct logic is dangerous. You have to get your logic straight, and we're watchful that it is done with a proper brainstorming and analyzing and full analysis, and making sure that it does not get backfired. The original logic recap. So for this, we remind you about the previous video in which we worked out the planned quantity and expected yield, which was actually the sum of confirmation. That was the issue, right? We corrected it. And tolerance applied 1%, 75%, or even 0%, and no change. It had no impact on itself. So logic was technically correct, but business interpretation was wrong. So to remind you, what was that? That's the planned quantity, and then expected yield was a summation of the confirmation. And tolerance applied 1%, 75%, even 0%. There was no change in that. This was the shocking moment. 471 of 996 records were marked as high severity. So that was huge, and it was worked out by some summation of the yields throughout the process, because each process level of the process order, the yield was reported, and we summed it out, and summation was not helpful, and that was causing such a great difference, right? So we have to get the logic correct in order to automate the things. So the high severity exceptions was a false flag. That was a red flag for the business, right? Okay. So if almost half production hours orders are exceptions, the logic is broken. It's not the production. It's what is broken is the logic. So this we have to work out. So let's proceed to the next, the tolerance. Why tolerance didn't help? Increasing tolerance from 1% to 75 barely changes this. The difference was not marginal, it was structural. Our structure has to be corrected to figure out the right things to the user, right? So the difference was structural, not marginal. Mm. It was not something that something has to be rounded out and to the nearest digit. No, the structure uh, was having such a big difference so that the marginal changes were not having any impact on it. So the yield aggregation itself was wrong. There's no point of aggregate the yield on all the process level. SAP report has on every operation level, the line item level of the process order, the yield is worked out, and it is mm, not advisable to use sum all those and do the aggregation of the yield on all the levels of the order, right? Tolerance only works on correct aggregates, right? The tolerance works on. So why the tolerance didn't work? Because tolerance is it works only on the correct aggregates, right? So this was the reason. The real SAP problem was what we did was sum of yield across all the operations. we we did the summation of yield across all the operations. That was the wrong thing, was done in the part 3. So we corrected it in part 4. SAP really, the reality of the SAP is the confirmation are on operational level, and we have to uh, uh, see this, that we do not do the summation of all these operational level aggregates, the yield reports, right? We got to sum only or the final stage, right? Only the business outcome depends only when it's on the final, whereas SAP does it on the operational level. So business outcome depends on final operation, and intermediate operations will differ. So SAP never, the SAP never expects every operation to match planned quantity. There's no point of matching the planned quantity at the operation level, all stages of the operation level. So it is done only on the final, it should be done on the final operation, final confirmation, right, of the order, right? Now the turning point. So let me take you to the turning point. What is the turning point here? Is that the key realization, the expected yield must be validated only at the last operation of the order, the last line of the confirm, when the last activity, because the process order is a collection of different processes, and there has to be one last operation, and that confirmation is the right way of comparing the yield with the planned quantity. So this is architect level movement, right? So how to do this? Introducing the MAXIF logic, MAXIF functions. So for each order, identify the last operation and validate the yield only there, and ignore the intermediate confirmation. That is actually the turning point, and that is the right practice, which will bring the right results to you. So for each order, we got to identify the last operation and validate yield only there, and ignore intermediate confirmation. So let's move to our MAXIF workout in Excel. This is our report, and in which what we did here, this is the MAXIF function which we used to work out the expected yield. Expected yield, for this, the first thing we did is that we used two columns. The one was on the T, you can see Yeah, and this is just the row number. Excel has rows and columns, so this is just the row number. Huh? And you see that is going to be a taken as a key to find out the final confirmation. And this is the yield of the process. It is in the D, right? So this is replicated. So that is going to be lookup, as you say. So this, whenever we want to look up the expected yield, so we will use lookup, not the summation. Previously, we were using the summation of the yields, right? This time we are looking up the final yield with the maximum number of within this row. So, right. So what it is doing is take any order, for example, let me take you to this. So maxif function, instead of sumif function, is being used here to clear that anomaly. And yeah, maxif function. It's a what to max, that is T column. Okay, so it will get the T, it will calculate the maximum within the T column now. And then what is the condition? That the order is in this, that is 21, right? And there is a confirmation on the level of X. It means there is a confirmation flag on the H column. Huh? Let me show the H column. Yeah, this is the confirmation flag on H column. And what is the next? The next is um, you got to look up. This max will will get you the row number, and that is going to be looked up and get the yield. Yeah, the yield is already available when 2 is looked up into here. So 45 is being brought in here. Okay. And let's go to the 40. Yeah. When this is being looked up, so the 2 is brought. Yeah. When it is being looked up, right? So it is 26 is being looked up because this is the final confirmation, and it is bringing 2 in here, right? It is bringing 90. It is bringing 90 because it is looking up uh, 23, and that is 90, right? So that's why the 90 is. 2 is not coming because 2 is this, right? 2 is this. 2 is the final yield written in here, but actual quality is 90. Because when you, let me show you this formula. So what would happen if we just say use the maxif? Huh? What would happen? Okay, this is maxif. What is maxif result? That is 28. Okay, so within 40, the final stage of order is on row number 28. And when the 28 is looked up, so what is the yield? That is 90. And this is bringing that 90 in here, right? So let me copy this formula back to show you that this 90 is right. Okay, so maxif is the game changer that corrected our mistake that we were in our previous Excel file. This was the part 3 in which we were doing the summation of this. If you see the summation, this is doing the sum of and bringing the real 383, and that was being compared, and that was causing the panic, right? Okay, so that's why it is important that we use the right logic here. Okay, so maxif is the right thing to get you the last stage within the order, and on the basis of its confirmation, it checks if it is exception is to be marked as true or not. Right? Okay, this is so. This was our maxif logic. The next is the result after this fix. High severity exception dropped from 471 to 33. Let me show you. This is our final stage. But this is a workout with the MAXIFS function. And then in the high is the severity. This is the severity. And we say that how many are the high severity cases? Out of 996, just 33. And this is perfect, acceptable. All right. Okay. So this is the difference that when you use the right logic, so it gets you the right thing. Why tolerance now making the difference, making the sense? Yeah. Why tolerance now makes the sense? Yeah. So it makes sense because the correct aggregation, correct business checkpoint, and correct interpretation. Now, these are real production problems, 33. Yeah. Otherwise, 471 were erroneous, right? So at the final operation, tolerance reflects the scrap, it reflects the rounding, and it reflects the measurement variance, etc. So, but so that is only where there is a rounding issue are enormous and making real difference into the reporting of the exceptions, right? So how about the exception category? How we categorize the exceptions? So final exception model is that um, the hierarchy should be the very high, and the other one means the final operation yield mismatch. Then in the high category, what are these things? That the final operation yield mismatch and zero yield at final confirmation. These are the high ones, right? Whereas in the medium, missing confirmation text, minor deviation within tolerance, and the low ones can be informational and monitoring only, right? So these are these things when we are going to automate the exception reporting model. So this way we are going to implement the hierarchy of the exceptions, high, medium, and low, right? So what lessons we learned? SUMIF is against the business logic. It's not going to work out for you for the business. It is to avoid the confusions. You got to get your functions, your logic correct, so that it has a relevance with the business significance. Right? Now, tolerance cannot fix wrong aggregates when you are doing it's only work out on the right aggregates. SAP reporting must follow SAP process flow. Yeah. If you are not aware of the SAP process flow, so your reporting will mislead. And exception logic must be process aware, right? You must know the process. So in our next videos, inshallah, we will automate the Outlook alert for high severity and auto assignment to production support supervisors and KPI dashboard on exceptions. Thank you very much for watching.